Welcome back to the desk here, live from EGX for the Hearthstone Premiership as we're about to get underway with our grand final. The bracket reset came true. It was a 3-0 in favor of Toastmonster, and he is swinging his way towards a win. His classic Toast man.
It could be a Cinderella story as well. You know, he's been in this position before, and that's the thing as well. He's done a bracket reset. He's lost before that as well, but he's going to change things up this time. He's a little bit more favoured, and the only thing Paradox is going to have a problem with is just due to the fact that, you know, he hasn't been in this situation before. You did mention about the whole mentality situation where, you know what, he hasn't been in a position where he's lost yet. That was the first series, a very quick one as well. It was like it didn't exist at that one point, you could say. But yeah, I mean, he's got to change things up a bit. With his cards in some of those games, he was a little bit unlucky in what he actually drew and what he had in the mulligan. So we're going to see things change up a little bit. I think it might be a little bit more of a closer series in comparison.
Think things are going to change up? I'd like to give you good odds on Paradox going for Druid again as his starting deck. It's such a comfort pick. He loves it.
But I thought he's so unorthodox and unpredictable.
Do you know what is predictable now?
What is that?
The picks and bans, as we have them. They have been predicted. We can check them out and see if anything has changed at all.
Absolutely nothing. As you can see, Paradox's Odd Warrior is still banned, which is fair enough because it's very good against most of the aggro decks, and the Mage, of course, is still banned. Aggro Mage from Toastmonster, because as we spoke about before, it can get too much leadway from the start and kill quite quickly on turn, so completely understandable from the same bans.
Yeah, definitely expected stuff. And I was having a little think during the break. I think you're wrong, Jackie. Yeah? I think that that Toastmonster looks a lot more like Clark Kent.
He has the glasses. He has well, yeah, true. He has the persona. By night, by day, Toastmonster. By night, Batmonster.
Super Toast.
Super Toast, yeah. I feel like I've gone for Batman.
Clark Kent is Superman.
I know,
yeah.
Superman.
Unbelievable.
Wait, yeah, but right, what's his kryptonite? Paradox.
Yeah.
Just him, his face.
What beats Toast? Cereal, Weetabix. Weetabix is his kryptonite.
Other brands of wheat are available, of course. Well, it's grand finals time. The last time Toastmonster saw himself in a grand final after a bracket reset, he fell short. This time, will he take the crown, or will Paradox be picking up the victory? Live at EGX. Only time will tell. Old man, a magician. Let's get it.
Thank you very much, Jackie, on that circumstance. And one thing we did predict it. Well, I'm going to say you predict it, so I'm not classed as wrong. Is the fact that he hasn't gone for Druid right off the bat. He's actually gone for Evenlock. It's the third time in a row he's going to stick with it and see if he can make anything of it this time.
No, I like this. I like that he's actually... He might have even heard us after he had a quick kind of 10 minutes there to check the games. He might have realised that he's being predictable. He might have gone for something a bit different. What I like already is that he's kept a double Spellstone opening hand, which is potentially a little bit risky, because he doesn't have the sort of the way to buff it yet, the removal, some of the other options that he's looking for. But what it does do is it guarantees him a way to clear a Hench Clan Thug, or even 2 Hench Clan Thugs, if he's able to pick up a Vulgar Homunculus or a Hellfire that he's able to sort of use on curve sort of effectively.
Yeah, a couple of things to take into account. You did mention about those 2 Spellstones. Well, even though he hasn't got any AoE, it's better than 1 compared to the one he had last time. And some of the cards he has in his hand, as you can see, the 2 Drakes, the Giant as well, they're the sort of cards you'd really want maybe in a slightly more mid-range control matchup. But mentioned before, if he has Sunfury or anything like that, it will complement it well, no problem. Siphon Sully does have that if things go a little bit later into the game, so we'll have to see how things turn out in the next couple of turns.
Well, this is something that's a bit sort of I was going to say this is a bit of an unpredicted circumstance Paradox, in that he's actually having to cope with the Cold Blood opening, where you get a couple of 1-drops and a Cold Blood and you start really pushing damage before Spellstones are even relevant. Fortunately for him, he tapped there, which he was doing before he was going to play the Vulgar Homunculus as his answer, found a Defile, which was a lot better, rewarded for what was effectively very good ordering of his cards. So I like that. Pretty basic, but very good to see at least his head hasn't gone yet. He's doing the basic things correctly, and it's rewarding him so far.
Yeah, he's still all there, which is perfectly fine. And you know, we spoke about mentality a little bit, and it's perfectly true. You know, some people may go a little bit overboard and get a little bit irritated and a little bit annoyed, and it's quite hard to refresh from that kind of circumstance, and being in that position, in that scenario, you could say. But no, he seems to be on the ball of things here, and, you know, drawing that Defile really, really helped him out here, because he could have had a few issues there, a few problems going into that. But now he's got his first Giant on the board. It's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to also say that we haven't talked about the inclusion of Tar Creeper in his Odd Rogue just yet. What it is, it's obviously very good against aggro decks. It's very good against boards that are quite wide that have to punch through it. What it's bad against is against decks like Evenlock, where instead of wanting to have a 1/5 that you hit them with a turn, you want to play like a King Mukla or a Vicious Fledgling that just deals damage and ends the game quicker. So he's being punished a little bit for having Tar Creeper in his deck. It's not a wrong decision. It's just a deck building decision he made when he entered this tournament, sort of expecting to play against a different field.
Yeah, I think Ben mentioned that a little bit before, but I think that was regarding the Zulok and not the Old Rogue. So yeah, it is a little bit strange how with the Tar Creeper. I think it's more just due to the fact that in this kind of position, if you're against another aggro, it's great. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, keep him at bay a little bit, and at least that way it gives him more of an opportunity in the future to do something. But, you know, this is an even lock here. Even lock, it's one of those, you could say one of those decks where in some position, you know, it may do really well or may do really bad. You don't really get a kind of like a middle ground here, depending on what you draw. And even in that last game, in a similar matchup, he was having just a lot of trouble just without having any of the AoEs, but he's in a much better spot now. He's going to last a few more turns, absolutely, and he may draw a few more AoEs later on going in. But, you know, with a couple of spell stones, and you had that Vulgar earlier to kind of keep it at bay a little bit further, he's doing okay. Yeah,
these are the big turns as well. These are the turns where Paradox has to decide exactly how much damage he's allowed to take, exactly how much he needs to react to the board. So, for example, he could have played the Vulgar Homunculus, played an Ooze, even though it wasn't on a weapon for tempo, potentially get bored like that and then start using spell stones. Instead, he said, I can take this damage this turn, especially if he Fungal Mancers, which is something that should have definitely been on his mind going into that turn, and he can then use the next turns to heal out of range, to clear the board effectively, and to just not die. It's part of his planning, I think, this one.
Well, just not dying.
Yeah, just not dying.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be the best option, I suppose, would it? Wouldn't want to die.
He wouldn't want to die. He has, though. He has taken a lot of damage. He can play the Vulgar Homunculus this turn and a Spellstone. That helps clear up some stuff, but he's on the edge. He's very much playing a game now of fine margins, where a Sun Fury, for example, would have been perfect. It would have been able to taunt up both minions, and the only way for Toastmonster to get through that is the Vilespine Slayer, which we saw last game, help him secure victory.
Yeah, and he's definitely going to have some issues here. He does have a Giggling Inventor anyway, but to kind of like delay things further to get the rest of his minions being cleared. Does have that Siphon Soul. He has been thinking about it for a while, and in all fairness, with a beefy minion like that, without Tar Creeper, I don't blame him at all for taking that out. And just try and get as many trades going as possible, which he has done, which is great. And, you know, he's in a lot better spot, but even at this stage, he can take out that Giant with the Agent anyway with the 2 damage and also get another minion on board. But the only sad thing is the fact that, you know, if it was just one more turn, he could have at least coined that Giggling Inventor on top of that to keep that Agent alive next turn. But Paradox is in a good position here, not to only trade with his minions on board, but take any more out with those Spellstones here. Yeah,
it's looking like it's a sort of a do or die couple of turns for Toastmonster. If he doesn't get the right sort of board presence, I think, as you alluded to, using the SI7 agent here and either the Deadly Poison or the Flame Elemental to push damage and find the extra couple of, well, the extra couple of points that he needs in order to kill Paradox, he's going to fall too far behind in order to, and it will just be done before it's, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, this is it. He's only on 8 health left at the moment, but he can definitely recover that a little bit more, so it's not too much of an issue here. That Ooze, I won't surprise, will be come down just to take out the rest of his weapon, just to hold us back a little bit further. But even at this point, he can help himself more and more. But apart from that, you know, when he gets to the stage later on in the game, he can, of course, go down and get 1 or 2 taunts more from that as well, just to help him a little bit more. But that's the other thing as well. With that hero power, he can just literally just delay him further, and then Toast may just have to tap out after. But, you know, it's quite a long way into that, so we'll have to see how he plays this out.
Yeah, the Spellstones are quite crucial, and the Shroom Brew that he's just picked up are quite crucial for Paradox. He's very aware that he's towing the line. He made some decisions earlier that suggested that that's what he knew he was doing, and it's paid off for him in dividends. This Trilight Drake, for example, was just traded away. It's actually a game that I've enjoyed the way Paradox has played. I think he's played it quite well, and as a result, he's probably going to take a victory. The way that he doesn't is if Toastmonster pulls the damage from his deck, so he needs to play towards his outs and understand exactly how he's going to kill his opponent, but those outs have to come within a very short period of time now. He has to find either like a Myra's Unstable Element, draw a bunch of cards, a Leroy Jenkins, a Cold Blood, for example, and really get there as quick as possible before just the tide is turned and it's too late for him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He's taking too much at this point. You know, he's running out of options. Yeah, sure, fair enough. He's got that Cold Blood here, but it's not going to do too much. He's still got a lot of recovery options just to try and crack on with it. You know, he's used all his health bits anyway, so he knows that this is what he has to deal with. There's not really too much else apart from another Shroom Brewer anyway, which he hasn't got, which is good enough for him. But with things like a Bone Mare and stuff, it's going to really struggle.
Yeah, the Bone Mare is It's an interesting pickup because sometimes when you draw the top card of your deck, you think, oh, this is a great draw, I might play it. It lends him to be so weak towards a Vilespine that he's probably going to consider it and say no, as he is here. Instead choosing to kill the Baku as best he can to play around potential Vilespine shenanigans or the taunt that he puts down being killed, and instead look to just remove the board and reduce the amount of damage coming in.
I like how you put that Volga down as well, just due to the fact that if it does get taken out, he can go down straight away. I'm sure that is his second one he's played, so he's got a lot more taunt going, gets that 5 armor, and of course I spoke about before with the hero power. He can put himself in a much more of a stable position at this time. But do you feel like a little bit now the only chance Toast has is maybe he just draws the rest of his deck?
Well, it's that, or it's potentially top decking a Leroy. He can't. His problem that he's having right now is that he hasn't got the extra mana crystal he wants, so he can play the Flame Elemental, he can play the Vilespine Slayer for 6 mana. Oh, he can actually play it all. What am I talking about? He can play it all. He can clear this board, Cold Blood, play the Elemental, and he can just push it all face. If he does that, he has outs. He has ways that he can win next turn with the right draws, even though it's going to be tough when Paradox definitely plays this Gul'dan this turn, heals up to 11 and puts 2/4 taunts in the way.
Yeah, if he doesn't play this Gul'dan next turn, then maybe he hasn't recovered from that last series in terms of his morale and how he thinks. But yeah, he's going to get at least 2 taunts from this. He's going to get that 5 armor. This is where I was talking about. You know, once he's put that Gul'dan down, he's going to be in a much more stable position. May not have a lot of board control here, but he has something.
I didn't expect it to be 1 Volga Homunculus. I was pretty sure he'd played 2 there.
I was quite sure about it as well because I mentioned it a couple of times and I was like, okay, you know what, may have a lot of ball control, but at least he's in a lot more stable position with both of them. But yeah, that was a strange one.
Such is life, though, and it's just better for Toastmonster. He's picked up actually a really terrible card. He's picked up a Diamol, and he won't be happy to see that. But he's still got a window of opportunity. He's still got ways that he knows he can finish this game. It's just got to come so fast for him because now that Paradox has this hero power, he's just going to hero power down these minions. He's going to heal for 3, clear the board. It's perfect for him. He just needs to, well, keep pushing, as it were, so he can play his 4-drop, his 2-drop, his hero power, get onto the board, start snowballing his board away from sort of the way that Toastmonster can go in and kill him.
You know, we're talking about second Volga.
There it is.
Yep, you know, we were wrong.
We're quite good at this. We keep mentioning cards and they keep coming. They just keep coming up. Yeah,
we weren't really as lucky charm before. It was like the complete opposite effects, but looks like we're more for Paradox at this point. But yeah, you know, we spoke about before that Diamol. That's the one thing he drew last time. Didn't want that. What happens? Gets the second one. So yeah, this could be a time where Toastmonster will probably think he hasn't got any other option, which he does.
Nice.
And the first time out of these 2 series, Paradox takes that first game, making things 1-0 here. And this is the kind of start he needed. He really struggled that last series, couldn't get anything going. But there's a difference between that game and the last series. The fact that with that one particular game against the Odd Road, didn't have many outs, didn't really have any options. He has some variants here and there, but it wouldn't have helped him anyway, day or night. So I think that's the main thing as well. So at least he's got that first game on the board. The even lock's gone now. I think he just tried that a few times just to try and get it out of the way because it's very hit and miss depending on what kind of aggro lineup you're playing. But so far, so good for him. And this is where Toastmonster's going to have to really think about what he chooses next against Paradox.
I think he likes to randomize his queue order, but I think Druid V there. I wonder what his notes are saying. Is he writing poetry?
Well, to be fair, you did say that, you know, he normally chooses Druid first. For once, he didn't.
Well,
you know, even though he's a little bit, a little bit predictable anyway. Same thing as well. It's like last time he chose Evenlock like twice in a row, and he just chose it again anyway.
Well, he always goes for Druid. I think this time, even though he can potentially hear us, I think he's gonna pick it this time, and it's not even going to be a choice. I don't want to talk about it too much. I don't want to sort of get in his head while he can hear us and he's walking off to the toilet.
Maybe he's thinking about it now. He's going to thinking, well, I have a bathroom break. I'll see if I listen to Leroy, or if I listen to Leroy, maybe I'll just lose the second series as well, which is completely understandable. But yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult at this point. You know, Toast has plenty of ways to come out of this kind of situation. You know, that Evenlock is one of those decks where it can take aggro down quite easily, or if you get very unlucky, which you saw from earlier for the series, then it's just one of those things. So one thing to take into account now is, what do you think Toastmonster should probably play next?
Well, I think that he could definitely hear us at the moment. I think he's chilling. I think he's sat there in his seat, just trying to remain calm. He's obviously been in this position before. He was against Big Ben when he was losing a little bit in the bracket reset final he had last season. He's got the experience.
Well, this is it as well. He does have the experience over him. That's the one thing to talk about as well. It's just due to the fact that, you know, he's had a very good 2018 here. He's been a lot more established coming into this scene as well. And winning this Prem is going to be big for him. Like you mentioned before, he did do the reset last season. Sadly, didn't get all the way. But, you know, this is his second chance, his second opportunity. And, you know, he doesn't really want any flashbacks.
He doesn't want flashbacks, but he's going to remain calm. I suspect that Paradox is in the toilets at the moment. He's trying to keep himself calm. He's probably splashing his face with water a little bit, saying, come on, come on, come on, Oliver, you've got this, you can do this. So,
well, this is one of the things as well. I think I might have told you before off stream, it's like the fact that what some teams would do, I used to do it personally, is that if a team won and they were very high morale mentality and all that bits and pieces, I used to go off actually just to let him calm down a bit. And when I come back and go, okay, all the morale and mentalities, all levels set now, all doing the same thing, and then you kind of come back from that because you can thrive off that. But obviously Hearthstone is completely different in that matter. Well,
it's a little bit BM. Like I mentioned this before when Duncan was doing it. It's the Nadal, it's the Rafael Nadal approach to Hearthstone, where if you get a win, what you do is you slow things down. You start bouncing the ball really slowly. You start roping your turns, and your opponent just starts to struggle. They get a bit tilted. They start to think, why is he wasting time? He's already won. He doesn't need to think about things. So hopefully Toastmonster remains calm. Hopefully Paradox is also calm. I want to see some good Hearthstone here. I want to see them really take it to the, well, hopefully 5 games.
Yeah, at this stage it could do. Of course it will go to at least a game 4 here. But for Paradox to say, I went to my first Hearthstone LAN final event and I got my first win, that's saying something. It's very, very rare, in not just in this community, but in other esports titles as well. It's very, very rare to see, you know, a player come into the scene, do their first event, and then take it and win the whole thing. It's going to be an interesting one. Of course, Paradox is going to do his best to achieve that. And the thing you predicted about the Druid being chosen next, well done, mate.
It's such a comfort pick for him. I think he's becoming a little bit predictable, where he doesn't want to play the Rogue. He's not really that comfortable playing the Rogue, and he knows that Toastmonster's lineup is a lineup that preys on Rogue. So it gives Toastmonster an opportunity to sort of predict that the Druid's coming. Even, honestly, I was about to talk about it, but he even gave a little cheeky smile to Cam when he wasn't wearing his soundproof headset there, where he knew that Paradox was going to play the Druid. He's picked the deck that absolutely dismantled the Druid last game in order to basically do the same thing again here, hopefully for him.
I just find it quite funny. It's just a complete coincidence, but when we looked at his notepad, it said Druid. He knew it was coming. It was one of those things, but as well, that could be why he chose this Zulok here, because, of course, with that Mossy Horror, if he does use Plague at any time when he gets a decent board going, he can clear that very easily. And so far from his hand, not too bad for considering his mulligan.
Oh, for sure. Toastmonster will be looking to put, now that he's got the Mossy Horror, as much pressure on the board as possible. It doesn't matter that his opponent can play the Spreading Plague. In fact, what he wants to do is he probably wants to bait his opponent into playing the Spreading Plague a little bit, just so that he can push the damage through that and sort of do a surprise sort of attack or a surprise lethal. So he's going to spread wide. He's going to try and have his minions damaged a little bit, buff them up with this Fungal Enchanter, and force Paradox into a position where he plays in a certain way, which Toastmonster already has the counter for in his hand.
Yeah, because looking at the moment with his hand, it's not looking too good in terms of what he wants to do. Yeah, sure, fair enough, he can take out one of the minions anyway, but at this point in time, even with that Soul Inferno now, you can really get something going.
Well, actually, it's quite funny.
Probably not, but
the problem with that is that obviously the tech card that he's going to have to hold on to forever is in the far left of his hand, so the Soul Infusion, it's not actually going to do anything for a while. It's quite an unfortunate draw for him. Doesn't matter, he's got a life tap, he's going to draw cards, he's going to do what Zoo does best, and he's going to find a way to hopefully, for him again, get onto the board as best as possible and start sort of crunching away at the Druid's life total before that swing turn happens, and before Paradox is able to find a way to utilise the 10 mana from his weapon, to use the Nourish to ramp into Wild Growth, to use the branching paths he has to find armour or the MC Tech to steal minions, before Paradox can effectively react to his board.
Yeah, and that's one thing as well with the Soul Infusion. It's just due to the fact that it is a shame, but fair enough, the Mossy Horror is on the far left side. But he's just trying to use it in a way where, you know, you can't just leave it there waiting the whole time and waste mana in that kind of circumstances. But look what we see here as well. Paradox Master has that swipe, perfect timing as well. It's kind of similar to when he had that Defile when he tapped into that with that even lock earlier, and this is a perfect opportunity for him. But he's already quite low on health at this stage.
Yeah, it's a good piece of removal, but he's getting so low. So without even seeing what he draws, Toastmonster already has a good turn here where he can play a tap and a Fungal Enchanter and at least one of those Happy Ghouls which will come out for free, and suddenly Paradox is staring down 9 damage on the board in a bunch of 3/3s that are there, and he's only at 12 health. He's so close to just being absolutely rushed off the board here. It's it's a pretty quick game so far.
One thing to remember is the fact that this is the choice he has to make now. Of course, he can't use that play till next turn. He'll use branching to get that 12 armor just to keep him alive at this point. But the potential lethal I can see here is the fact that if he does put that plague down thinking he's in a comfortable spot, he's not. Mossy was just sitting there looking at him pretty much.
And it's exactly what we said. Like, Toastmonster has been able to play, and he will continue to play so wide, knowing that this is his chance, this is his opportunity to get Paradox, to just get him to commit to a plague that kills him effectively. So I like this. Hopefully for him, he'll commit to this, and he'll probably play the Saronite Chain Gang to put the biggest number of stats on the board. Effectively, it's 4 attack from the 2 minions that it plays.
That's the thing as well. Yeah, like even though he put the Blood Knight down, he could easily put the Chain Gang down to kind of like bait him into using that plague in some ways. And if he'd done, then that would have been over and done with. So I have to see exactly if he does decide to play it or use that MC tech to take one of the minions. But even then, it's looking very bleak.
Yeah, I think actually might have been better to play the Saronite Chain Gang just to avoid the MC tech as well a bit, sort of hurting you. What's going to happen though is he's set up lethal. He's clever enough that he knows that the 12 damage is exactly the 12 that Paradox has. So he's still playing towards killing him next turn. It's not exactly like he's missed an opportunity there. Paradox now has to think. He has to think, should I spreading plague here? It's the best play. It's clearly the best way he survives. But we know it will kill him.
Yeah, he's going to go down and, well,
there you go.
He has. You know, he may put 1/5 plagues down as well, may put the 2 talents on the bottom next. But, you know, that is literally it. Once that Mossy goes down, he's going to realise. I'll be interested to see how Paradox reacts. He's probably going to react in a way he's going to be like, yeah, I thought so. I knew that was going to happen.
The classic Hearthstone nod where your opponent plays the card that kills you and you go, yeah, saw that one come in.
Yeah, you could see from his reaction. It's a very, very hard decision to make at that point. But even if he played the MC tick, that wouldn't have mattered. But like you mentioned before, if he did play the Chain Gang, then he may have survived for one more turn. But even then, it was very, very hard. It was completely out by now.
It's because we have caster vision. We can see, obviously, what's going on. We can see the tech cards and the cards in hand and the way the players are playing. Paradox, for him, that was the best play that turn. The MC tech, although it keeps him alive, it's just not the best play. To play a bunch of taunts that sort of stall the board and stop you from dying, to play 2 0-mana 4/4s as well, that's phenomenal tempo against a deck where you obviously need to take the board. So he did the right thing. It's just unfortunately for him this time, Toastmonster just had the perfect answer.
That's right, and this is going to be very interesting now. Of course, that Zoolock has been done and dusted, as well as the Paradox's even lock. Both Warlocks gone now.
Both
Never see them again for this tournament. Sad times. But the thing is, though, now, what does he decide to do next? Of course, we do have an odd rogue, which can be very favourable. I know Toast loves going on ladder, that odd rogue. Loves a bit of odd rogue all the time. Yeah. And of course, the Secret Hunter, like you mentioned before, you obviously pointed out, is the fact that he does play it a fair amount, but does he know the full extent of it? Of course, he does know a very good, knowledgeable amount, but had to see how things go. But on the other side with Paradox, how do you think he'll be able to deal with it?
Well, I think Paradox very likely to queue up the Druid again here. It's his comfort pick. He just doesn't want to play the Rogue. He's terrified of playing the Rogue against this lineup. So Toastmonster is probably able to utilise that to his advantage. He's probably able to know what his best matchup is against the Druid and just pick that one because Paradox is predictable. Again, it's playing Druid.
Well, this is one of the things, isn't it? If he's that predictable, then... And I love how you spoke before where it's like, it's very predictable with what you choose at the start in the series, but also with the card he plays as well. But looking at his hand now, he does have a Wild Grove to start things off, which gives him just that little bit of leeway. But then again, look at Toastmonster. He has a fuck. He's got 2 deadly poisons. He's even got a Squire. So maybe if he gets lucky enough to draw that Cold Blood, then have to see how things go.
Well, there's some very nice hands for both players here. Paradox is obviously looking to get the Wild Growth into the Nourish that he's just picked up. He wants to ramp and draw his removal as fast as possible, get to the turn for the powerful for him. Toastmonster, although he's gone second, which is obviously a little bit worse with this deck, it doesn't really matter. He can go hero power here. He can probably coin the Cold Blood if he wants to be very, very sort of aggressive moving forwards, which enables him to push the damage. And he knows that Paradox isn't playing, he's not playing Malagos Druid, he doesn't have Moonfires. There's actually no easy way for him to deal with this Argent Squire. So this Argent Squire is very likely going to do 10 damage. Next turn he can follow it up with a Hench Plan Flood. It's just going to be a very big snowball from Toastmonster, who's drawn well, and a snowball from Paradox. He's got all the ramp. He's got a really good hand as well. He just has to decide whether he wants to play the Weapon, which is one of the best cards to play on this turn, or whether he thinks that he needs the time, whether he thinks he needs to play the Branching Paths now for armor, and then hopefully get to the later turns using the Nourish, using the Weapon, where he can where he can actually just survive and not just die to whatever Toastmonster's doing.
That is a sad thing as well, is the fact that it does have that wild growth, has the nourish as well. Great opportunity to ramp up, but it's got no chance of that. Of course, Toast is going to keep the pressure on from the very beginning, as he has done with that Squire and Cold Blood. It's a bit of a pain, really, because with Paradox as well, these last 2 games, this one included, when he sees some of his card draws, it's great for the control matchup, but against aggro matchup, complete opposite end of the spectrum here. So don't get me wrong, he can play the weapon here, and like you mentioned before, can take another 5 damage, so let's see how he cracks on from here.
Yeah, the thing about this play is that he's definitely going to clear the board. So next turn, he knows that he can use the Starfall as a way to remove a Hench Clan Thug, which is just the most predictable minion that can come out from the Rogue on turn 3. And he can use his weapon to take out the Argent Squire that's got 5 attack. But he's going to be at 6 health when he does it, and that's just a Leroy away from dead, or as we can see in this case, a hero power deadly poison away from dead. So if he does go for it, if he does go for the Starfall play and the attack with the weapon into the 5-1, he's going to die. So he needs to think about the best play or potentially the survival play, which is playing the branching pass for armor, which, well, he can't do that this turn, I don't think, anymore, but could have done that last turn. So it's an interesting, even though he only had 1 or 2 decisions to make, an interesting game nevertheless.
That's right, yeah. He's like kind of made positions, like kind of made turns where it's like, he has to make such awkward plays here. And you're right, though, he has gone for that Starfall anyway, just to try and at least take one out. But like you mentioned before, if he does trade, that will be game. Of course, with that weapon, deadly poison.
He's dead.
He's dead just like that.
Dead on turn 4.
Exactly, yeah, just as you do with Odd Rogue. I said it before, Toast, he loves his Odd Rogue. Always ladders it to Legend at the start of most season, which is fair enough. But to be fair, who doesn't? So, of course, as you can see, Toast making a little bit of a comeback here, already 2-1 in favour of Toastmonster. And Paradox now, he needs to really decide what he wants to do in this next matchup. Of course, Toastmonster, he will be using that Secret Hunter. He's not a big fan of it, but he's been doing quite well with it nonetheless anyway. And as you can see from the other side, will Paradox use that Druid again?
It's so likely he'd use the Druid again. It's the deck he's most comfortable with. And in these situations, when your back is against the wall and you don't necessarily have the experience, you don't necessarily have not the mental fortitude, but he's probably a bit nervous about playing the Rogue. He just wants to take it to the game 2. He wants to reverse the nervousness. He wants to make Toast a bit nervous. At 2-2, anything can happen, right? So he'll probably go for the Druid, try and get the win. And the Druid is very favoured against this Hunter, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, of course. Even though in that kind of matchup he's very comfortable with his Druid, he's going to have to play his Rogue eventually anyway. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how he goes about it. You know, this could be the game 5, but I think if I remember rightly, last season, didn't Toastmonster actually, after we say the bracket, went to a game 5? That one as well?
Oh, it might have been. I think it might have been 3-1 to Ben, actually, in the end. But he definitely got at least a win. I think Ben then sort of stomped him towards the end. So he'll be happy he's got further than he got last year. He's got the 2 wins on the board. He just needs one more. He just needs one more.
It's just progression, really, isn't it? You know, at least he gets that second one. He goes, well, I may have lost 3-1 last season, but at least I lost 3-2 at this point. You know, little improvements here and there. But of course, that trophy, that's what he's been gunning for the entire time. And sadly, just lost out at that last season. But this is his main opportunity. He's only 1 game away from taking it all. And an interesting one here, decides to go for the Quest Rogue instead.
Go for the Quest Rogue. Maybe he's decided that he just wants to showcase. Maybe he's really comfortable on it.
Maybe.
Backstage, he's been saying that he's not comfortable on it, but maybe it's actually just his deck.
He's just lying.
He's played the long con.
That's all right, you know, we get lies here. Right?
Well, I think it could be quite clever. What happened there is Toastmonster's mulliganed his entire hand looking for early aggression. So it's been mentioned before, but the Spellstone, the Hunter Spellstone, it's a very, very good card. It's almost that the deck is built around it. But unfortunately, you find yourself in positions a lot of the time where you play the Spellstone against a Quest Rogue and they vanish your minions away, so you never get to attack with them, or they play a Giggling Inventor, so you have to trade them into Annoyatrons instead of being able to deal damage. And it's that you can't actually get an aggressive enough start with that Spellstone in hand to kill your opponent before he completes his quest and before he starts just running you over with 4/4s.
Yeah, he hasn't got much of an opportunity at the moment. You can see he's got the minions there, but even then, like, with the preparation, it's pretty much a dead card unless he does get that banish or get anything else. He hasn't got Shadow Stave. He hasn't really got the ingredients he needs to try and complete that quest sooner than he thinks. So I think Toastmaster will be a little bit happy about that.
I like this from Paradox as well. What he's done is he's recognised that the way he loses this matchup is on board early. He said to himself, okay, so I don't need to play the quest if I'm not completing the quest with the Southsea deckhand. So that's decision one. He's decided he doesn't want to complete the quest with the Southsea deckhand. He's then decided, I'm going to play this because it trades into the Razormaw, of which we can see 2 of in Toastmonster's hand. It prevents early aggression, and my deck is so good, and my deck is so powerful anyway, that I know how to play it well enough to win a game that goes a little bit longer, that takes a little bit more time to complete.
Yeah, he basically knows that he needs to survive later on in this game, and it can be a little bit of a pain sometimes. We've seen some mulligans with odd road then, the quest road, where literally they just have everything all in a mulligan, all in one spot, and it's just by turn 3, turn 4. Even played the quest anyway, so, but it's a completely different situation here, but at least he's got a little bit of a viable option here. He can bring that deckhand back if he pleases. Just depends how he wants to do things, unless you want to draw more minions later on.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to bounce the deckhand. I think he's very much committed to the line of use the deckhand to trade, just like that, and take board sort of early, or at least not take board. It's very hard for him to take board, but resist board. Make sure that the board isn't killing him straight away. It could mean, though, that if the right set of draws happens for Toastmonster, if he manages to pick up a couple of secrets or something this turn, he could get into a position where the Spellstone isn't always going to be useless. It has to be that Paradox has to find the right cards or play in the right way, so holding back Glacial Shards, for example, or waiting to use a Giggling Inventor, potentially drawing minions with his Elven Minstrel at an opportune moment where might not fight for board as well, just to find the right cards to prevent that from being a way that he loses.
Yeah, again, he's still got those minions, but it's been very difficult for him to decide exactly what he wants to do from it. He's going to see if he can get a couple more draws anyway. Could have done the Novice Engineer as well, but decides to go for 2 more just to, you know, there's multiple ways you can think about this. You know, he may be drawing a couple more minions, but it also gives him more of a chance to get those spells, removing those minions from his deck. Yeah,
and he's got three bounces, or he's effectively got 3 played minions to complete, towards completing the quest now, in that he can play a minion, get a copy of it with Zola, and then bounce it back using the Brewmaster. So he needs to pick up 2 more ways to bounce a minion, or to get a minion back in his hand, or a second copy of the minion, in order to complete the quest. So he's getting there. He's almost there. He's picking up the pieces, slowing Toastmonster down, and getting towards his victory condition.
Again, with some minions you normally choose for Quest Rogue, they could have done other options, like, you know, if maybe if that Shard came to play early on or anything like that, at least it will keep them at a standstill until when that time comes when he does play that quest. But, you know, with the taunt anyway, it's not too bad. It keeps him, it's another way of keeping him from his minions from attacking in any sort of way, which is fair enough. But looking at Toast now, you know, you can adapt one of his minions later on to try and get things further. And he's got Snake Trap as well to get a wider range on the board. And even got Kill Command to help with that lethal, he actually gets the opportunity to.
So this is an interesting turn, actually, for Paradox, where he's decided the Glacial Shard, probably what he's going to complete the quest on. It's how you obviously combat the Spellstone that we've been talking about. It's how you combat just the Hunter dealing enough damage to you quickly to kill you. His decision there was between playing the Zola on the Glacial Shard or playing the Brewmaster on the Glacial Shard and then playing the Glacial Shard back on the Leok in order to then next turn use the Zola on the Glacial Shard and keep Glacial Sharding things. So it was sort of a quick decision between how many Glacial Shards and 2/1s he wanted on board and whether he wanted to spend the more mana on the Zola that turn.
Well, this is like I mentioned before, where, you know, it doesn't matter, of course, which minion you want to choose, but in this kind of scenario, when he's against something like Secret Hunter, the Shard is fantastic, keeping him at bay. The taunt sometimes doesn't seem a job as well, but at the same time, it gives Toast minions to have the opportunity to attack now. But look at that, though. He does have that Vanish. He's got the preparation as well on top of that. Depends if he wants to use it now or maybe use it later on, depending on the circumstances, or to see what his decision is.
So a benefit to using the Vanish now is that it gives you your Zola and it gives you your Glacial Shard back, which is just more bouncers towards completing the quest. So it's very likely he goes for it. It also means that Toastmonster's aggression is just halted. He's done no damage to him this game so far. He needs to find a way to just push. He needs to be able to find a way to stick so much on board right now that it's becoming increasingly difficult as the turns go on.
Yeah, that situation is going to be very annoying for me. You said it before, he's done no damage, which is quite surprising in some ways, considering the circumstances which Paradox has been in. But, of course, with the taunts, with the shards and all those bits and pieces, he's managed to keep him at bay, which is, at the moment, he is doing that job. He's doing a good job of it at that stage, but, you know, now he's got a Shadow Step. Yeah,
it's looking very, very likely that Paradox is going to... He'll complete the quest this turn, but he won't be able to play it. So he's going to be able to next turn set up for having a number of glacial shards on the board that have frozen all of the 3/3s that have come out of the Spellstone, and then he can buff them to 4/4s, and if he force 4/4s, and if he fancies it, take a lot of value trades, dominate board control, and eventually win the game from there, because Toastmonster's just been unable to do any damage at all. He's playing an aggressive lineup, an aggressive deck, but he's dealt 0 damage to his opponent this turn, or this game.
Yeah, it's very surprising, considering it's now turn 6. It's absolutely 0, but it's like I mentioned before, Paradox has done a fantastic job just keeping him away from his hero at all times, just trying to find other options. And like I said earlier, with the shards, it's going to keep it at bay even longer now, and it's going to be very, very tough for him. And Paradox is in a much better spot compared to what we saw in this mulligan. Yeah,
it's interesting actually that he decided that he didn't want to use the other glacial shard that turn. He could have used it to freeze the 1/3. It had then been able to, well, not have any of his minions die, whereas this way the 1/3 can trade off into a 2/1 and just kill it for effectively free, and sort of it's basically like killing a 4/4. And he'd have been able to have another minion on the board that when he plays the quest next turn is just ready to go. It's ready to attack and charge into minions and do damage. So I thought that was an interesting decision. I'm not sure why he's held it yet. I'm trying to work it out. Maybe it's that he values the battle cry a lot more, and he thinks that he can use it sort of in the future to potentially freeze an even bigger minion, or something that's more effective, or sort of more dangerous to him.
Yeah, that's right. He just seems to be a little bit worried in some areas, which of course he should be. You know, this could be his final game. I think, but I was going to say as well, he's got that subject 9 as well, and I think a little bit as well, Toastmonster's a bit worried just due to the fact that at any time, if he does have another Vanish, then he has those secrets to play. At the end of the day, you know, could overdraw.
He's dealt his first 2 points of damage.
Should we give him a clap, a round of applause? Like, that's a good one, considering the matchup as well. But look at that, another preparation. So if he does get his quest done, if he decides to, then it's going to be a lot cheaper for him, and we could put more stuff on the board. Like, you know, you could put the deck hand down with a weapon to maybe trade off with another. We'll just have to see how he plays this out.
Yeah, well, I think he's almost certainly going to prep out the quest this turn.
I hope so.
And he's going to use these. He's going to use the glacial shards that become 4/4s to take some value trades, because he's not going to win this just through aggression. He's not going to win this by racing the hunter. He can just win it by trading the hunter. He can win it by trading all of his minions into their minions, keeping his alive, and just building his board better, grinding it out slowly.
And even then with that snake trap, it's made it very cost effective for him. Of course, I managed to get one on the board, so completely pointless at that stage. And these trades are great for him because, of course, everything's 3-3-3-2, and he can keep it on the board as you see fit. And I mentioned before with the deckhand and now the ball as well, just to continue trading. It's going to be a very tough spot for
Toast, you could actually see it there. Well, he was shaking his hands, and he was at the camera. He's like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Well,
he's got Rexar.
He's picked up a Rexar. He can now just clear this board. So Paradox has played super hard into that by trading. It's not a mistake, I don't think. I think, really, you shouldn't play around it. It's just a card that's going to come out very sort of small percentage of the time. But it does now mean that there's an opportunity for Toastmonster. If he gets potentially sort of, poisonous outs of Divine Shield, ways that he can trade into multiple 4/4s as he tries to consolidate his version, or his side of the board, he could pull it out. But looking at Paradox's hand, we know that he can draw as many, or he can draw a bunch of cards this turn if he wants to. If he wants to look for things, it's not going to be too taxing on him.
That's one thing I did like about Toastmonster as well, is the fact that when he did see that come down and doing all those trades, he just saw from his face, he was like, what do I do now? What can I do? When Rexar comes, I've never seen such a big smile on someone's face when it goes straight down. But yeah, you're right, that was literally his only out. And, you know, top decking out at the time, that was a fantastic opportunity. And it keeps him in the game as well. He can keep building up those heroes, get those big top minions going in. Of course, if he's ever in a bad spot, he can get that life steal, and maybe weave him with like Rush or any of those bits and pieces just to keep him at bay. Yeah, it's an interesting decision by Paradox again there to hold the life steal minion. He's, instead of playing it to kill the 3/3 because it has Rush, he's held it. I think he's holding it because what he anticipates coming out from Toastmonster, who built a beast last turn, is a big beast. He's anticipating something so big that he can play the Sonya, trade in his scale hide over and over again, and just keep bouncing it back and going sort of infinite with it, really, until he runs out of mana. I don't like it, though. I think you want to just get it on board, and it requires the hunter to have an answer, and if there's a big beast, they won't have enough mana to play the answer anyway, so potentially some edges to Paradox's game that could be improved upon, but he's played it well enough that he's won, and he's going to take it to a game 3, I think, well, soon, but... Well, this is it. I love how you said game 3 as well. I was like, yeah, it could have been.
Game
Maybe
5.
that was last game. But maybe if it's that last game, then we can always go back in time.
Yeah, well, I think Toastmonster wants to. He wants to go back in time and sort of redo this game again. Different mulligans, please.
Yeah, I really fancied what he did at that time. And yeah, even at this point with that Sonya on board, it's going to be very difficult for him. But you're right, yeah, this could go to a game 5 depending on the circumstances. And of course, you know, that isn't a freezing trap. That's of course an explosive trap. It's not really going to do too much for me. Of course, Toast can trade, but it's not going to do too much.
Well, the thing here is that Paradox is just going to keep creating things. Anytime Toast plays something now, he has to either kill command for Sonya before he plays something, which means that Paradox has a turn of effectively free development because Toastmonster won't have the mana to do all of that, or he just gets to trade for free with the Sonya. He just gets to keep bumping his things in, his scale hide into things and taking as many value trades as he wants. He's going to grind the game out, and Toastmonster has to find some very unlikely outs with his hero power in order to stop that sort of clear the board with a bloat bat and a charge poisonous or a rush poisonous minion. He needs to really dig deep here and sort of work out how he can win.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult at this stage, of course. Don't get me wrong with that Rex, so he can make a few minions here and there to keep him at bay, but because they're so cheap for Paradox, it's going to be very difficult. There is some ways you can see which you could actually lose some steam and lose that tempo where you can actually keep something on board, but even with his Mimic Pod, if he gets another minion, then that's going to help him dearly.
Yeah, he's going to get more minions. He's going to draw with. He's going to draw with the Elven Minstrel. Eventually, he's going to be able to find the Valera that he's looking for, which just effectively doubles any minion you play the first time each turn. He's just got so much value. He's got so many minions that it's so hard for Toast to get back on board here. It's I don't want to say unlosable, but it's such a favoured position for Paradox at this point that he's really just looking to close the game out, take his time, find the way to get all of the damage on board, and take this to the fifth and final game of the day.
Yeah, it's one thing to take into account. It's because, yeah, there's that possibility of losing. I can understand that, though, because we've done it a couple of times. And I think it was actually with Paradox.
Yeah.
I think it was versus Ball or something at the time.
Against ball control.
Yeah, it was like near impossible. And we're just like, oh, no, OK, OMC cube with 2 7/4s contained inside it. Perfectly fine. You know, some stuff is like never impossible here. But look at this stage now. It's looking very much will go to this game 5. And sadly for Toastmonster, he may have had those couple of opportunities, but what hurt him dearly is the fact that he couldn't really do anything right at the beginning to do any damage, because that's kind of like the main things you want to do right at the start, especially against a Quest Rogue with a Hunter, but there's nothing going, especially with the shards and taunts that Paradox had at the start. Yeah,
and he even picks up the Vanish here. It's one of those situations where he could play almost any way he wanted and still sort of deal with this game and finish it off, but the Vanish is a final nail in the coffin. It gives him the freedom to attack into as many traps as he wants, knowing that he can just vanish and redevelop in a way that's so aggressive that any minion development that he sort of sends back to the hand, anything that Toastmonster can do next turn just isn't enough. So he could do it here, for example. He can just put all of his minions into the face, deal enough damage to set up lethal next turn, vanish, play those 1 mana minions, and say, I've got you. There's nothing you can do here that sort of beats me.
And this is what's great, though, is the fact that as worse for Toastmonster as well, he's going to overdraw on top of that, not going to make too much of a difference anyway. And even the rest of the minions and his spells he has, Snake Trap's not going to do anything, Freezing Trap was just going to delay the inevitable at this stage. So I can see how you're going to see that, but, you know, he's going to put both shards down anyway. I think he's very, very comfortable knowing, but it's basically close to being over.
Oh, it's so over. It's so over. Unfortunately for Toastmonster, he's looking for his outs. He's looking for the way that he can either get a taunt minion that's poisonous. So a bloat bat with a stubborn gastropod, that was one of the outs where it's a minion that has to be attacked into and then deals damage to all the other minions, poisoning them, killing them off. He didn't hit that, he concedes. He recognises that that's a game over for him.
Yeah, it's close to impossible, and the reason why I didn't want to mention it is because, you know, we've seen it happen before when they make these comebacks, you know, we mentioned it, but 2-2 now to game 5. This is exactly what I wanted, and this is, I know it's what you wanted as well, of course, you know, with the storyline and everything, with the, you know, with the hero and the villain, you could say, in the community. But, like, now, this is another thing as well, of course, I mentioned it before, Paradox, his first event here, and could be his first win, or on the other side, Toast, been in this situation before, last season, he did come second, but he doesn't want a repeat of last time. It's he's had enough flashbacks. He's had enough, and I think, for me, he's been one of the best players at this tournament. He's been consistent, he's been calm,
he comes back from games, and instead of being like angry, for example, when he lost to Paradox, he just said, how could I have improved? How can I do better? And that's the attitude of a winner. That's the attitude of someone who gets beaten in Series 4 and he says, right, that's cool. I'm just going to improve. I'm going to make myself better. I don't care that my opponent may have got lucky or been sort of had the better like rub of the green on the day. I'm going to make sure that in the future I get that. I'm going to make sure in the future that I'm the one who's playing well enough that things go my way, and that's what he's doing. Paradox, on the other hand, he's not someone who has that sort of that self-improvement so much, but he is a grinder. He's someone who is very, very good at settling down and just getting through matchups and understanding them to their core if he plays enough of them, which is, again, why he's here as well. He's someone that plays enough Hearthstone, and he understands it well enough that he can master certain matchups, and that's paid dividends for him this tournament.
And this is where it all comes down to Game 5 of the final, you could say. Of course, this is a bracket reset. Toastmonster did take it 3-0 very comfortably in that first series, and now this is the final game of the tournament here. We're going to see if it's going to be Paradox's Druid versus that Toastmonster Secret Hunter. But one thing we want to know is the fact that what can Toastmonster do here to deal with Paradox's Toggle Druid? Well,
what he's done is he's kept Rexar in the opening hand, which suggests to me that he's not looking so much to try an aggressive game plan, which is one of the ways that you can win. It looks like what he's doing is he's saying, look, it's okay, I could get an aggressive game plan, but what I'm thinking about more is that this guy's a mill druid. He's not trying to pressure me out with Malagos combos. He's not trying to kill me with a bunch of tokens and a Savage Roar. He wants to take this game long. He wants to take it to fatigue. Rexar handles that really well because the hero power takes things long, it takes them to fatigue, it provides infinite value if the game goes long enough. So it's going to be close. It's sort of a meeting of two archetypes that could, well, it could go either way, to be honest.
Well, that's the thing with Paradox. He's been in this exact position before where, like you mentioned before, he had to, when he gets the Rexar up, he's got to deal with every single minion which is being created every single time. But the only problem is, at one point, Paradox is going to run out of ideas, run out of spells, run out of any possibility to stop him from actually getting so cost-effective with those minions. And when he sees that Rexar, he's going to know straight away at turn 6 he's going to have some serious issues. So we'll have to see how he can actually capitalize on that.
And it's actually sort of funny. We were saying that Toastmonster didn't have, well, he'd kept the Rexar and he said, it's okay, don't mind if I don't get the aggressive start.
2 companions?
He's actually pulled quite an aggressive start, where now he has to decide, like, the MC Tech has come down. Paradox has actually got quite a not very nice draw. He's got something that's less good for him. He has to decide whether he's going to... Oh, that's unlucky. He has to decide whether he was going to play the Animal Companion, which he could have done to potentially roll the 4/4 taunt. That's a 1 in 3, which would protect his minion from the MC Tech that's been played out for tempo. He also, for some reason, attacked face first, which I can't... I think he was looking for stealth. That's what he was looking for. He attacked face first because he went for the stealth out, so he wanted to stealth his Bear Shark and then Houndmaster it next turn and put pressure on that way.
Yeah, even if he didn't have a stealth, he could have had +3 health just to at least keep it alive.
Yeah.
Just due to the fact, well, that's the thing is that you could say that as well. He could have at least swiped it just to keep him. Oh, no, he wouldn't be able to, actually, would he? Just due to the fact that he won't be able to use any spells. But we'll have to see exactly what he gets from this Animal Companion, which is not the best thing he wanted, but in terms of that, at least if it stays alive, he can, of course, continue that +1 and then attack into it. But you got 2 swipes just looking at his face there.
Well, yeah, he's given himself the opportunity to switch to the non-aggressive game plan. So he's quite able to just throw as many cards out without sort of as careful consideration, knowing that if this plan fails, he's got the backup plan. Like, it's in the bag, it's in his pocket. Like with the Mossy Horror that we saw a couple of games ago, he's got the plan in his pocket. He just needs to work out how he's going to sort of enact that and move forwards with it. On the other hand, Paradox, he's finally picked up a Nourish, which is so key for him based on the fact that he's got 2 UIs in hand. He needs to get to He needs to get to 10 mana crystals as fast as possible, because otherwise he's going to get sort of run over very quickly.
Yeah, that's right. It's sad for him. Of course, he's got plenty of opportunities to get any card draw, but it's kind of at the same time not what he wants. Just due to the fact, look at the circumstances. He can make 1 turn to maybe get that Nourish out, get some more cards, or even do the ramp, but he hasn't really got much time. And even with that Naturalize as well, at least that way, he may force Toasty into drawing into a couple of cards here, but at least he stops himself from dying so quickly at this point.
Yeah, the Naturalize is actually a really key pickup, I think. It gives him the opportunity to... Before, Toast had put him in a position where it's either sort of, you either swipe my minion or you Nourish for ramp. And nourishing for ramp is what he wants to do. With the naturalize, he was able to, or he would have been able to nourish for mana crystals and then naturalize one of the targets so that he reduces the damage incoming and also gets towards the UI quicker, giving him the swipe next turn with a potential top deck for armor gain or for board presence. He's gone the other way with it though.
Yeah, this is what he needs to try and decide as well. He does have that Rexar anyway, but he can also Animal Companion, and then if he does get a 4-2, he can adapt it. Sadly for him, he doesn't, because I think he was looking for maybe if he does get it into a 4-2 and then, you know, adapts it, maybe give it win for you just to, you know, just adapt just a little bit more, but doesn't anyway. But he managed to get it +3, which is better than nothing.
Oh, for sure. He's looking to put pressure on still. You can see that the Rexar wasn't even a thought in his mind that turn. He played the Animal Companion, snapped. He snap-played it. He was thinking, I do want it. He wants Huffer. He wanted to get Wind Fury. He wanted to get attack. He wants to push damage face because that's how he's going to win. He's going to win. At the moment, that's how he's going to win. As we said, he's got his back pocket. He's got his back pocket plan, but for now, his opponent's at 21. Usually a Druid can armor up to 40+. He's saying, he can see the whites of his eyes. He's going for it. He's going for the kill, and I like that.
You can see the light at the end of the tunnel, basically. Well, this is it, you know. At some stage, if it does get later into the game, with the UI, so of course, Infestation's denourished, he does have the opportunity to stabilize and continue on from there, but he just hasn't been given the opportunity. He has to force use his naturalizers, you know, his Starfall straight away. Right now, his hand is looking pretty bad. Don't get me wrong, he can use the nourish, and if he gets a Tyrant, he's got something on board to basically just trade off anything else which Toast puts on the board now. But he's going to use the tracking anyway to see if he can get anything else, but not too much.
No, it's not looking good. He's going to have to, well, it's very likely that he's considering his options here. He's looking at the fact that he can't really play. He could take the Calmaster, sure, he could play that, but there's nothing that's potentially oppressive that he's putting on the board. There's nothing that's scary or a big minion, and it might be that he just plays the Rexar this turn, as we see. I was interested to mention, because we had thought about it before. We'd said that Paradox's Druid play is a bit weaker. If he had actually gone for the Nourish for Crystals turn the turn before, what he could have done is that turn he could have done the Starfall and the Swipe, or he could have done a Starfall and a Naturalize. He'd be at a lower health total, but this turn he'd be playing UI already to kill whatever remained, the remaining minion, and he'd be swinging the board round a lot quicker and a lot faster.
That's one thing I do like as well, is the fact that with that Nourish, he could have had the card draw earlier, but decided not to. But this time as well, he managed to build up that ramp, which is great, because next turn he does have an Infestation to get some more card draw. I'm sure he'll get a Tyrant or two from that as well, and does have that Wild Growth to get even more cards. So this is where his opportunity to stabilize and try and get something going here. But this is the other thing as well. At some stage, Toastmonster may put so much on the board, not talking of how wide the board is, but just the kind of beefy minions he'll put down with Taunt, Lifesteal, the aggression he can put down. That's when he'll start running out of options. So Paradox needs to try and think of a way to try and get out of this a little bit.
It's also interesting. So Paradox choosing to draw there, it indicates that he's decided on a game plan. He's decided that his game plan is that he's going to try and draw his deck and he's going to execute his combo this game as fast as possible, which you can't fault him for. That's what the deck's built to do. It just means that gives Toast the time. That's going to give Toast the time that he needs, and he hasn't armored up. He's only at 26 health. It could be that giving him that much time gives him sort of enough damage, or it just increases how likely you are to die. It gives him the extra hero power. It gives him the extra minion to play that does 7 or 8 damage. It's going to be tight.
Yeah, definitely will be tight. Lucky for him, of course, after that Infestation, he did manage to use that Innovate to use that Spellstone to clear the board anyway. But this is the talking point as well. You did say he's looking for those combo pieces to try and finish the job. But if Toast keeps dealing some really decent minions here with charge or any high attack in any way, shape or form, just to keep Paradox away from getting those combo pieces, he should be in a good place. But it's going to be a tough one.
Well, he's got the old the stone. He's got the bloat bat. Finally, I don't think it has poison. It looks like it's got stealth this turn, but it will deal damage to a board. It will be a way that he can swing the board back when things go a little bit wrong. It's also 6 damage that he can just push to the face. And as we said, Paradox not armoring up has given Toastmonster a window there for potentially getting into the game.
Yeah, that is right. It's quite a large one, to say to speak, as well. We have to see exactly how he's going to go about this. In terms of hands and his minions, you don't need to worry about that anyway. I think he did his job at the start to try and do what he can to trying to damage Paradox as much as possible at the start, but it's like you mentioned, you know, he kept Rex at the start to make sure we're going to that late game to see what he can do here, but even now, the only one thing about this is the fact that even though he puts the taunts on the board, he's going to lose that stealth anyway and can be traded afterwards.
Well, here we are. It's 40 health time, just as predicted, where the Druid has gained all the armor. It now becomes a bit of a slugfest, whether Toast can get sort of the big beasts that deal with the board and put pressure on. We know that the Druid has already used one naturalized, for example. It's going to be a little bit harder for him to mill Toast if he wanted to go that way. It's combo execution or bust, to be honest. So Toast has Paradox just has to draw his deck, and Toast is just going to be making big things. The bigger the better at this point.
Bigger the better. That is the name of the game for Toast at the moment, of course. It's like I mentioned before, you know, even though that 6-3 will lose that stealth afterwards, but no matter what happens, he needs to trade. And he was thinking about that secret keeper at one point, but technically he's only got one secret he could play, of course, that snake trap. Looking at it now, he's going to see what else he can do from here.
I think he's just taking the board. He's trying to put the best sort of the numbers that he can on the board. 3-3 wolves, they're very good. They're going to attack. They're going to deal damage over time. He needs to... He just recognises his win condition. It's just putting as much on the board as quickly as possible and just slowing Paradox down from drawing cards, because the more he draws cards, the more he gets his twig of the world tree going, the quicker that he gets through his deck, the closer and closer Toastmonster gets to losing this game. And unfortunately, that would be losing the entire tournament as well.
It will literally be a repeat, but just a different player this time, which would be... Yeah, it would be a little bit of a pain in, but what do you think Toast can do now? Of course, I know it can keep another beefy minions here and there, but there's only so long he can do that for. Yeah,
well, that's it. He has to just keep going, I'm afraid. He has to keep making these big minions. He's got 2 5-mana minions there, so he can play them both. Instead of using his hero power this turn, he could play them both, and he's thinking about that. He's thinking, well, that puts a 4-6 on the board and a 5-6 or a 6-6, I believe. That's pretty good. But, but you need more. You need to keep going. And he's also picked up the Mossy Horror, which helps him play a little bit around a potential spreading plague or some small taunts that might come out too.
That was the exact thing I was going to point out as well. He hasn't many options in terms of the minions he's been drawing from his deck, but that Mossy Horror, like you mentioned before, perfect opportunity. But even though Toast does try and get a wide board, Paradox does have that MC tech ready to play in case that does happen. But I think Paradox does know that if he has no minions on the board and Toast leaves 3 on par, he's going to make that assumption that he will, of course, use that Mossy Horror afterwards. But Paradox realises that anyway, puts it down just to get something, you know, to a little bit more ball control from there.
Yeah, he does. It's so tough. It's so close. I'm willing Toastmonsters go on and make some big beasts, and it's looking, to be honest, like Paradox is just taking the game out of the way and taking it out of sort of Toastmonsters' reach. The more he does this, the more he plays these minions, and as you can see now, he's got his combo ready. The combo, of course, being that he can play the Togwaggle and he can play the Azalina to copy the hand, and then, well, put Toastmonster into fatigue. So he draws his deck, swaps the deck, sort of, so that Toastmonster can't swap back, and suddenly Toastmonster's taking a lot of fatigue damage as well. That's what he's looking to do, and that's what he almost can do. So he's close. He's very, very close now, his Paradox, to the trophy. I'd say he's got one hand on it.
Yeah, and, well, you never know. Toast might have the other hand on it. Well, technically he does, because it's still 5 in this game 5. And, yeah, you're right, though. It's so close between the two of them. And you may think now Toast needs to kind of speed things up a bit, but you can't at this point, you know. It's as slow as it goes, you know. This is his game plan, just to keep building these huge minions in some way to kind of whittle him down more and more, and it's not going to be at that stage.
Well, I think he did speed up a bit there, and unfortunately for him, what he did is he picked Galactic Crawler as one of his builder beasts, and as he went to play it, realised it was highlighted yellow, realised that the Nightmare Amalgam, which is part of one of the beasts that he had on board, was a pirate, and that he had to actually kill it in order for him to play the 6-6 or the 5-5 that he'd created. So not ideal for him there, but it only had 1 health. It was going to die anyway, right, to the weapon. Yeah,
it was going to get traded, so I completely understand it. It is a bit annoying, that kind of situation. I think he did have a feeling, but you know what, at this point in time, you know, I'd rather put 6-6 on the board and leaving that 1 health minion there. Like I said before, he's going to trade it. But even if he does trade into the Secret Keeper or anything like that, it's not going to make too much difference. He's only got 2 snake traps. He can't really do too much as of yet, as well as the card draw he's got. But yeah, it's like I said before, it's so close to this stage. Does have a couple of wild growths for more card draw. Won't be using it for infestation as of yet.
Yeah, it still just comes down to whatever's left in Paradox's sort of current deck, what cards he's going to get when he obviously swaps the decks with the using the Azalina this turn, and whether Toastmonster can use this turn of sort of reduced reactiveness to his board to push hard enough. Unfortunately, Paradox is at 24. It's going to be very hard for him to keep dealing this damage and to keep this pressure up, especially now that there's a 5-5 and a 3-3 that just happen to be part of the combo on the board as well.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult here. He can't, that's the thing, even with that College Juve, you know, it's no point getting the armor if you're going to go straight into fatigue anyway. I suppose technically, well, that's the other thing as well, it's Jude Favre. Paolo can just armor up anyway, and it's just running out of options. You need to really build something really good in it. And it's
yeah, that's
not
pretty
looking
good.
that way, but with the stealth, yeah.
So that's 9 more damage. He's got 1 kill command in hand, but Paradox knows that. Paradox can taunt up, he can get things out of the way. There's a Mossy Horror that would come down, so potentially there's a way that the damage can get through, but it's probably not enough. I'm having a quick look. It's obviously 6 with the kill command using the Blood Mage Thalnos if you're actually pushing for a final lethal, but I don't think he's quite got enough damage, assuming that Paradox sort of plays this out correctly. Yeah,
if he doesn't trade event in the minions, of course, you've got 15 on board, you've got the kill command, which is 5. And it's like you mentioned before, with the Thanos as well, you know, it will go to 6 instead of 5. So it does have the option there. That means as well, when he does armor up, that's when he might not realize. Toast is so close. It's like, you know, you're saying Paradox has got 1 hand on it. At this stage, Toast does as well. He's got lethal in hand. It's just the fact that it depends whether Paradox will trade these minions. Of course, not the stealth one.
Well, he's going to trade away the 6/6 because otherwise he dies, and he knows that because he can see the Blood Mage Thanos and the kill command because they're in his hand now as well.
Yeah.
What he can't play around, what he can't beat, is Toast finding the card from this Builder Beast. This is the most crucial Builder Beast, and I'm going to say ESL UK history, where he's looking for something. He's looking for potentially something with charge or with damage that goes over the top. He's even ignored this. He's gone face.
Even with rush, like, you know, he could do that as well. Anything with rush or charge or anything like that, he can end this. And of course, with the minions he builds upon, it's going to have more than enough attack. So we'll have to see now whether he does decide. And of course, Toast doing his Toast thing with his hands, doing the exact thing, trying to figure out exactly if it's even worth it to try and do this.
He's got a lethal out. His lethal out is to find the 5/4 beast, the one that buffs Murlocs, and to find a charge minion, the Stone Tusk Boar. If he gets exactly that, he can kill command the 1/5 taunt, he can push both of the minions on board to face, and then the charge minion will do exact lethal damage. That's his out. That is his chance to win this game. I think there might be more, but for me, that's the one that I can find.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of.
Mukla works too. It needs to be Stone Tusk Boar alongside this Mukla. Stone Tusk Boar, and he just wins the tournament.
Oh my God!
He's done it.
That's twice we've seen that.
He didn't take it. Is this still lethal though? Oh my God.
I was a little bit worried.
Was I miscounting? Or does he still have it?
I'm pretty sure
he's done it. He's done it.
He does. I was a little bit worried him because when he didn't take the ball, I was like, oh my God, he couldn't. That was a really tough spot.
No. He's not done it.
He's only one out though.
He's missed it. He missed the win.
Oh no.
That was it for the entire tournament. He missed the win for the entire tournament there.
I think he sees it.
He knows what he's done.
He's literally just realised, oh my God.
Oh my word.
I don't know what to say about that, because if that ball would have been okay.
Yeah.
That ball would have actually won it.
No, he took the ball. He took the wrong bit at the start, and he was one off.
Oh,
he needed to take the Mukla.
I actually, do you know what? I don't know what to say to that.
Paradox is our ESL UK Hearthstone champion, everyone.
He is, and of course, Paradox managed to take that final Game 5 after a very long, drawn-out series there. Was a little bit worried. He did lose that first series 3-0, but in one of the closest of Game 5s we could have ever had here. Paradox's first time competing at an event, first win as well. Fantastic play by him, being one of the first for him as the ESL UK Premiership Hearthstone champion.
Yeah, it's his first series in the Premiership and he's won it. That's an incredible performance by him to come through the bracket full of some of the UK's best players and take it on the final day in such an incredibly close series. He'll be absolutely over the moon, he will be.
Yeah, no, honestly, that completely threw us both off because there's like so many different ways he could have actually done that, but missing it by one when he realised, it's just, I don't know what to say.
That was soul-crushing.
Yeah, what can you say about that?
It really was one of those moments where you saw the thought process, you saw him working it out. You go for the kill command, then all of a sudden it was that moment, Green Sheep was there watching it with me and you could just hear, it's one off, it's one off, it's one off. It was sort of kicked in. You saw the reaction on Toastmonster when when you realised, wow, that's devastating.
Because we'd tunnelled on the King Mukla, which was lethal, and we'd seen it, we'd got it, we thought he'd picked it, and then we were busy just trying to count and work out whether the other beast that he'd picked was also lethal or not, or whether it was one less damage.
Yeah, because we couldn't see what he chose straight after that. But that was definitely one of the closest series, or even game 5 we've ever had. He could have had that there, but it's just unbelievable. I'm still very speechless at this point.
What a way to end it, really. I mean, the fact it goes down to 1 HP there, literally 1 point, was the difference. And that is the win for Paradox. The fact that the Vexed Man himself is going to be taking home the title. He's locked it down in a 3-2 series, lost out in a 3-0 before the bracket reset, and then goes on to be the newly crowned ESL Premiership champion for this season of Hearthstone on his first real Premiership.
This is what I'm talking about. It's one of the first things I said. It's the fact that, you know, coming to the first event to, like, you know, just to try and get used to the environment and everything, that's different. But getting a first event and a first win, you know, that's going to be heartbreaking for Toast. It's basically a flashback of last season, and I do really feel sorry for him. It's very, very close, a very tight series. And after that first series as well, you know, to get 3-0 just due to the fact that Paradox didn't have the best of times with a draw and what it could have done to deal with some of the aggro, but what a game 5.
It was so complicated, it went to fatigue, it was so close, and this is the measure of a man now. I want to talk about Paradox, who's won, but I want to briefly say that Toast, he will come back. He will come back stronger, and next season he will be someone to fear because he'll work on self-improvement. He won't blame himself, and I don't want him to.
It's crazy as well, though, the fact that that's now 2 seasons in a row this has happened to Toast, both times, and that's going to be devastating. You could see physically the reaction from him as soon as he clocked on to what happened, just upset. But Paradox, obviously loving life, realised that it was going to happen, left on 1 HP, the dream came through and he was able to lock it down, and it was absolutely wild. But we do have the man himself, Paradox, your new champion, his first time at the Prem, and he is now the champion of the Prem. Frankie, what was that?
From a first-timer to our Season 5 winner. Paradox, my heart was literally in my throat in the last moments of that match. Talk me through what happened.
I don't have many words for that end of the match either. I thought so in my mind, at the end of that game, I was thinking, okay, so I can go Spreading Plague, Branching Paths, put a board of 3/5s up, but that doesn't really win me the game because then Toast just develops more stuff on board. I don't really get that fast. So I then had to go, okay, how do I actually win the game? And the way I theorized that I won the game is I play as Alina Togwaggle, just get these guys on board, naturalize one of his threats out, and then, well, after that, I got his hand and Toast managed to not draw Spellstone the entire game. I was playing around the Spellstone for 4 the entire game by holding the Plague Paths. He just didn't have it. And then after that, I was like, okay, on that last turn, I was thinking, oh my god, he's got me. How do I do this? So I was like, he can't actually kill me if he goes for Mossy Horror kill command. That's actually 1 damage off. So then I go, okay, so I can play Spreading Plague, because Spreading Plague blocks 5 damage, I don't die. And if I don't die, then I just have to kill him before he kills me, so I just push all the damage through. I've got the kill command ready, I can kill him next turn. And then I see the Direwolf of Charge come down from the DK Red Star Zombie, so I'm like, oh my god, does he have it? And I count it twice, I'm like, no, he's only got 20. And then he goes face, puts me at 1. I'm like, I did it! I actually did it!
You did do it. I'm slightly out of breath from that one. I think let's take a moment. Let's do the fingers to the camera. The Paradox fingers, right?
Yeah.
As our 5th season champion, how are you going to celebrate? Because I have to say, when you came into this competition, you were the most nervous person I spoke to when I did my little pre-interviews before we kicked off the show. And coming onto the stage, the first time you won, you were all a quiver. And now, here you are. Still all a quiver, let's face it, but you definitely grew in confidence through those series.
Absolutely. Like, by the time I was on stage today, it just felt like I was playing at home, honestly. I just don't have any further words. I don't know. I just won, and that's all I really need to say, I think.
What are you going to do with the trophy? I have to ask you this.
Well, my place doesn't actually have a trophy rack, so I have no idea.
I mean, yeah, the rest of us, we all have trophy racks in our houses, Paradox, totally. I've got mine in my bathroom. I've got gym class attendee. I won that in my old job. And, oh, I've got UK Esports Awards. I'm just blowing my own trumpet now. This is your moment, and I want you to raise that trophy. Are you ready, Paradox?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Yeah, are you sure? Are you sure? You're not going to drop it?
Well, if I dropped it, then I'm buying another one, right?
Well, you've got a share of £8,000, so I think you can. Right, I'm gonna step back. This is your moment, Paradox. Congratulations, you are our Season 5 ESL Premiership Hearthstone champion.